Have you ever wondered if God is really listening to your prayers? Are those small occurrences in your daily life just simple coincidences or, in fact, divine signs? Many of us at some point find ourselves questioning, is God really working in my life? Today, let's dive into this reflection and explore how to identify the signs that God is guiding your steps, adjusting your plans, and preparing something extraordinary for your future. But before we begin, let me ask you a direct question. Are you ready to see what God has reserved for you? Why does it sometimes feel like we're in the dark? There are moments in life when it feels like we are walking in the dark, without a clear direction. Why do certain obstacles arise when we least expect them? Why do some plans fail, despite all our effort, while others, with no apparent explanation, succeed? These questions are common and reflect a deep dilemma. Is God guiding us, or are we simply adrift? When we face difficulties, it's natural to feel discouraged, even abandoned. However, what if the reality were completely different? God's silence does not mean absence. Often He is guiding us in ways we cannot understand at the moment. Like a father who sees beyond what his child can perceive, God is adjusting our steps, even when it feels like we are alone. The maze of doubt. Many people describe this feeling as being in a maze, surrounded by tall walls, unable to see the way out. But what few realize is that God leaves clues, signs pointing to the right path. The problem is, we are so focused on the difficulties that we fail to notice these subtle messages. Now think with me. What if those signs were already around you? Would you be able to recognize them? Are you prepared to hear what God is trying to tell you? Let me share a personal story. There was a time in my life when everything seemed to go wrong. It was as if all the doors were closed. I prayed, searched for guidance, but the answers never seemed to come. For a long time, I thought God was distant, that He had forgotten about me. However, as months passed, something began to change. I realized that small things were happening, details that at first seemed insignificant, but when added up began to make sense. God had been speaking to me all along, but I was so caught up in my own pain and frustration that I couldn't hear. Are you living something similar now? Could there be signs around you, but you haven't yet learned to recognize them? Has something unexpected ever completely messed up your plans? Losing a job, the end of a relationship, or moving to a new city might seem like defeats at the moment. But often these are divine adjustments. God in His wisdom sees beyond what we can comprehend. Sometimes He closes a door not as punishment, but because He has something much better in store for us. Think about the times when something didn't work out and later you realized it was the best thing that could have happened. Now, look at your life. Are you interpreting challenges as failures or as divine redirections? God also works through people. He sends guides, mentors, friends, and even strangers to teach, support, or protect us. But in the same way, He also removes certain people from our lives, and that can be painful. Think, who has entered or left your life recently? Could this change be a sign? Could God be protecting you from something or making space for something new? One of the hardest lessons is accepting God's no. Often we pray for something we desire deeply, but God closes the door. This can bring frustration, doubt, and even anger. However, God's no is actually an act of love. He knows what's best for us even when we can't see it. Trusting in God's greater plan requires faith, a faith that transcends human understanding. Are you willing to trust this plan, even when it doesn't make sense at the moment? Have you ever felt that strong intuition? Almost like a silent voice inside you telling you what to do. Many times this is how God speaks to us. But in such a noisy world, it's easy to ignore that voice. We are so busy with our worries and distractions that we fail to hear what God is whispering to our hearts. Today I ask you, are you listening or ignoring God's voice? How to develop sensitivity to God's signs. Pray with purpose. Prayer's the most direct connection with God. But instead of asking for specific answers, pray for clarity. Ask God to open your eyes to perceive the signs around you. Study the Word. The Bible is a guide. Many of the signs we seek are already written there. The more we delve into the Word, the more we understand how God works. Practice gratitude. Gratitude helps us recognize daily blessings. When we give thanks, we notice how much God is already working in our lives. Be aware of the details. God manifests in small moments. A conversation, a song, an unexpected piece of advice. Are you paying attention? What do you gain by recognizing God's signs? When we learn to identify God's signs, we gain inner peace, even in the midst of difficulties. Confidence, knowing we are on the right path. Purpose, by aligning our steps with divine plans. How to know if you are aligned with God's plans. Inexplicable peace, even in difficult moments. Do you feel a tranquility you can't explain? Repeated messages. God reinforces his message through repetitions, advice, versus signs. Surprising results. When something works out in an unexpected way, it's a sign that God is in control. Now, with all this knowledge, I ask you, what will you do with the signs God is showing you?